some results immediately, like say if you steal some money. Yes, maybe stealing the money immediately would give you the result of getting some money, but when the repercussions come back around, you might get punished, you might get put in jail, you might get beat, you might get killed. It comes back around in such a way that it's not ideal. So irreligion is like this. When we do things irreligiously and try to immediately gratify ourselves in this world, that could be killing, raping, stealing, all the worst types of activities. It may seem like it can give some pleasure or give some result very quickly, but ultimately it almost always ends in a very bad situation. So this is irreligion. Right now, the irreligious practice of abusing the animals, the cows, is abusing Mother Earth, abusing Dharma or religion that Kali is performing. Maharaj Parikshit, he is ready to be the equalizing justice, to come around and not allow it to happen. And he speaks on what it's like, what any real genuine Kshatriya or a real leader who's spiritual, what he should do is they should always protect the innocent, and they should never let irreligion flourish. And it's their job to protect the people from irreligion. That's what a real leader does. Nowadays, the leaders of society, they encourage people in irreligion. They encourage people to kill animals. There's literally government subsidies for murdered animals. Animal holocaust, no problem. The government will pay you to help assist the costs of the Holocaust, which is unthinkable. They'll, give all kinds of license for people to gamble. They'll give all kinds of license for people to get intoxicated. I used to pray for the USA to get licenses so that people could smoke marijuana more freely. And now I'm just like, oh my God, now everyone's intoxicated even more than already before with all the alcohol. So, and what's to speak of the fentanyl and all these other heroin and all these other horrible things that are coming. It's prescription drugs. So anyway, everyone, all these, our government, or the leadership of society today, and it's not just our government, the U.S. government, but the leaders in Kali Yuga, they all encourage irreligion. But a real bona fide leader, a real qualified leader, he'll always defend religion rather than irreligion. And so that's different. So Maharaj Parikshit, he's showing this. He's ready to chastise the demon Kali for his irreligious activities towards Surabhi, Mother Earth, and or not Surabhi, but Mother Earth, and Bhumi, and Dharma, the personality of religion in the form of a cow and a bull, respectively. So before we begin, Madhav, if you want to share the screen. Is it shared up with you guys? No. No, you don't have to share that one, but you could share it with the YouTube people if you want. Or maybe I should do it. Maybe don't know. Alright, I'll be around. You ready? Do you want to try to play this with me? So let's see if I can position my hands here so that you're not in danger. It doesn't appear that it can work out that way. Yeah, let's try. Having a child is such an experiment for me. Okay, I don't think it's gonna work. But alright, you're going down. I know he likes to play with it. Oh, too. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyan Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuruditayena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamaya Vidati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam
Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visa Gadvitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vatsakama Tuyugasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Aditanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Ti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishesha Shanyavari Paschatya Deshatarine.
These are prayers offering our obeisances unto the spiritual lineage of teachers from which we can hopefully get the mercy of, who are presenting these spiritual wisdom texts that we're reading here today. And by their mercy, even one of them, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he's giving us literally the commentary and on the translation in English so we can understand it here in the Western world. Very good. By the way, Parth, I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I was thinking of your reflection on Sunday, and I thought it was very nice, and you had such a preaching spirit, so I would be honored if you gave class, not this next Sunday Mukunda has, but the following Sunday. You'll do? Okay. And then tomorrow we have Gopashtami. I don't know if you're familiar with Gopashtami, but it's the day that Krishna and he first went out with the cowherd boys. He graduated from his younger years, and he really went out and did his adult duties. And you could actually argue that it's the day that represents Krishna's first performing the activities of that's said to be done in the spiritual world in what's called Ashtakaliya Lila, or of the 8 periods of the day that Krishna starts fulfilling his genuine activities that he always is practicing, that makes the activities of Vrindavan so sweet. So it wasn't until Krishna would go out with the cowherd boys that this would happen. These are sweet pastimes with Krishna as a baby. Mother Yashoda seizing him and doing all kinds of pastimes, like in this form. But it's not until he grows into his youth that all of the most wonderful pastimes actually arise with the gopis and the gopas and so on. So tomorrow is that day, actually, so it's a special day. I'll try to give some presentation on that tomorrow for the class. But yeah, the essence is also for us, we should also, just like Krishna, he takes responsibility to evolve and perfect his pastimes. We should also take responsibility to evolve and strive to perfect our sadhana, or our practice, our bhakti practice, so that we can taste, the really wonderful pleasures. Why do you have an indent in your forehead? Did we do that to you by our neglect as parents? Or, sorry, I'm concerned, Abhiram. So yeah, that's tomorrow. We have to evolve in our service and take I actually never thought, I did think, but I never imagined the service of being in my sadhana, in my spiritual practice, to encourage, to teach a little devotee, like this guy. I never thought that would be part of my, I never thought that would be part of my service, but here I am. So the essence of Gopashtami is that, actually, to take on the next service and to evolve and to appreciate Krishna's taking on his next service, and appreciating the glories of that evolution of service, which he takes on in his role in Vrindavan. So anyway, that's tomorrow. Meanwhile, we're here back in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. That takes place in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. But in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit is just, he's ready to chastise Kali now for his insolence. But Kali, you remember, when Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and under pressure of fear completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. This is the nature of someone dressed as a king who's not qualified to be a king. He will, out of fear, not stick to his principles and abandon them at the last moment. So whatever was driving him to beat and kill the cow and the bull, now he's ready to take off his royal position and humbly beg before Maharaj Parikshit for mercy. And actually he'll get it. Patitang padayor viraha kripaya dina vatsalaha sharanyo navadich chlokya aha chedang hasanniva. Patitam, fallen. Padayo, at the feet. Vira, the hero. Kripaya, out of compassion. Dina Vatsal, kind to the poor. Sharanya, one who is qualified to accept surrender. Na, not. Avadi, did kill. Shlokya, one who is worthy of being sung. Aha, said. Cha, also. Idam, this. Hasan, smiling. Eva, like. Maharaj Parikshit, who is qualified to accept surrender and worthy of being sung in history, did not kill the poor surrendered and fallen Kali, but smiled compassionately, for he was kind to the poor. Purport: even an ordinary Kshatriya does not kill a surrendered person, and what to speak of Maharaj Parikshit, who was by nature compassionate and kind to the poor. So the nature of a Kshatriya is to protect the poor, to protect the powerless. So if someone surrenders to a Kshatriya, and is sincere, not like a duplicitous thing, then the Kshatriya, he'll be compassionate to that personality. So he was smiling because the artificially dressed Kali had disclosed his identity as a lower class man, and he was thinking how ironic it was that although no one was saved from his sharp sword when he desired to kill, the poor lower class Kali was spared by his timely surrender. This is also the kind of the glories of strong disciplinary action, even by death, where if those who are offenders, if they realize the consequences of powerful agency or personality, they'll immediately give up their nonsense activities, and they will very humbly come before, say the state or, the police or something, and they will they'll correct their behavior. So this is, some discipline by force is good. I'll be remembering that when Abhiram was a very bad little boy. At one point, maybe he'll get a few pats on the bottom or something like that. Or my one friend's mother, he used to tell me, he used to twist his ear, and just like twist his ear, and he's like, "Oh, okay," and then he would do anything she asked once the ear was twisted. So actually, Prabhupada also, Tamal Krishna Swami once asked Prabhupada, well, if you said everything's in the books, then what's the point of the live spiritual master? And Prabhupada went and he twisted his ear, and he said, because the books can't do this. And he twisted his ear and pulled him, and there's a principle of guru as being Guru Karnadara, where they navigate their disciple, or they navigate, the disciple gets navigated through the ear. So unless the guru is present to navigate one through the ear, you cannot be properly chastised and disciplined. The book might chastise and discipline you, but that's only if you willingly read it. If you decide to shut the book, then no problem, no chastisement for you. So if you don't want to bear chastisement, you shut the book. But a live guru, he won't let you get away so easily. He'll really strongly condemn whatever nonsense you may be up to. And yeah, you could be we can all be benefited that way. So here, Parikshit, he's kind to the low-class Kali, um, and he spared him with his surrender. Maharaj Parikshit's glory and kindness are therefore sung in history. He was a kind and compassionate emperor, fully worthy of accepting surrender even from his enemy. Thus, the personality of Kali was saved by the will of providence. Oh, sorry. So due to the will of providence or destiny, Kali was able. Remember, it's Kali Yuga, and just like nobody wants winter, but winter season has to come, and it is ultimately beneficial so that a new spring can arise. Nobody wants the Kali Yuga or the Dark Age where people degrade and develop all kinds of unsavory habits, which ultimately cause disturbance all over the world. But these disturbances actually usher in and create the situations that'll usher in another golden age or a pure age, and it'll help the people evolve. That's the reason that suffering exists in this world. It's to help people evolve, and the more degraded you are, the worse the suffering comes. So we see this. And so similarly, the more degraded human society is, the more an age of suffering has to come to help correct the living entities towards a better path and help show them a better way. So this is the point of why people suffer, why things like this. So due to destiny, Kali was saved. Even though he was causing so much suffering, he was saved for a higher purpose. So we'll see what that is. Rajovacha Nate Gudakesha Yashodaranang Badhanjale Vaibhayam Asti Kinchit Nadvarti Tavyang Bhavata Kathanchana Kshetre Madhye Tvam Adharma Bandhu. Okay, Raju Vacha, the king said, Na, not te, your, Gudakesh, Arjuna, it means quite literally one who's conquered sleep. Yashadaranam, of us who inherited the fame. Bada Anjale, one with folded hands. Vai, certainly. Bhayam, fear. Asti, there is. Kinchit, even a slight. Na, neither. Varti Tavyam, can be allowed to live. Bhavata, by you. Kathanchana, by all means. Kshetre, in the land. Madhye, in my kingdom. Tvam, you. Adharma Bandhu, the friend of irreligion. The king thus said, we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life. But you cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of irreligion. Because he surrendered, he would spare his life, but he still would not allow such a corrupting or personality to have a place in his kingdom. So we'll see what that looks like. The personality of Kali, who is the friend of all kinds of irreligiosities, may be excused if he surrenders. But in all circumstances, he cannot be allowed to live as a citizen in any part of a welfare state. So if somebody is quite degraded, let's say they beat animals like Kali was doing, or they kill people, they are wildly corrupt or thieving or something like this. If they surrender to the authorities may spare them, but they cannot can continue on with those activities in this kingdom. So we actually do this. We put people in prison. Like, okay, we won't kill you, but the death penalty is reserved. Or even like the police, if you put your hands up and you surrender to the police, they won't kill you most of the time, unless there's something improper happening. But if you try to fight back against the police, then they're trained to kill you like quite quickly. So similarly, this is those who are irreligious. They can be spared if they surrender, but they can't be allowed to live in the welfare state amongst the other more pious sects of society. So the Pandavas were entrusted representatives of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who practically brought into being the battle of Kurukshetra, but not for any personal interest. He wanted an ideal king like Maharaj Yudhishthira and his descendants like Maharaj Parikshit to rule the world. And therefore, a responsible king like Maharaj Parikshit could not allow the friend of irreligiosity to flourish in his kingdom at the cost of the good fame of the Pandavas. That is the way of wiping out corruption in the state, and not otherwise. The friends of irreligiosity should be banished from the state, and that will save the state from corruption. So those who do irreligious activities, they have to be removed from the state. And if they try to go out with a fight, they actually should be killed. And if they surrender properly, nicely, maybe they can be put in prison, or maybe they go to a state that doesn't have justice, or virtues as part of their law and things like that, and they should be banished. So that can actually save the state from corruption not happening anywhere in the world practically. Tvang vartamanang naradeva dehesh teheshwanu pravrito yamadharma pugaha Lobho nirtang chorya manar yamangho Jeshta chamaya kalahascha dambaha Tvam, you, Vartamanam, while present, Naradev, a man god or a king, Deheshu, in the body, Anupravritta, taking place everywhere, Ayam, all these, Adharma, irreligious principles, Puga, in the masses, Lobha, greed, Anutam, falsity, Choryam, robbery, Anaryam, incivility, Angha, treachery, Jeshta, misfortune, Cha and Maya, cheating, Kalaha, quarrel, Cha and Dambha, vanity. So, if the personality of Kali, irreligion, is allowed to act as a man god or an executive head, he's got jurisdiction over others, certainly irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound. So I just want to look up treachery. I think is causing fear, right? Is that treachery? Treachery, betrayal of trust, deceptive action or nature. Also be a treacherous act is betraying of trust. I didn't know what treachery meant. That's funny. So incivility, not acting proper, falsehood, being liar or not being cooperative with others, greed, falsehood, lying, robbery, stealing, treachery, betraying people's trust, misfortune, all kinds of bad results which come from that, cheating, people cheating each other, quarrel, fighting, and vanity, being very proud of one's whatever they have. You know what, we can actually look up vanity. Excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. So, yes, these will all arise if someone who's the executive head, if he's irreligious, or a representative of the personality of Kali. So Prabhupada says, the principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, as we have already discussed, may be followed by the follower of any faith. There is no need to turn from Hindu to Christian, or Hindu to Mohammedan to Christian or some other faith, and thus become a renegade and not follow the principles of religion. So Prabhupada is kind of throwing a shot at people who are so adamant about proclaiming their faith, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, I'm this, I'm that. But if you really are that thing, you should follow some universal values that really aren't so different among the Mohammedans, the Christians, or the Hindus. But many people, they cling so hard to their identity of faith, but then really when you evaluate their life, they're quite irreligious. They do all kinds of irreligious activities. And so Prabhupada calls them a renegade. And what is the exact definition of a renegade? It's like a rebel or something. A person who deserts and betrays an organization, a country, or set of principles. Yeah, so like a traitor, defector, deserter, rebel, turncoat. I think it's like an army term. They leave their uniform or their coat. But anyhow, so Prabhupada is saying it's better. There's no need to become a renegade from your religion and not follow the principles of religion. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. No, these are universal principles of Dharma or religion, and they are that to be merciful to living entities, to be disciplined, austere in one's practices, meaning not falling into intoxication and things like this. Cleanliness, to be very clean internally and externally. They say cleanliness is next to godliness. And truthful, to be honest, very truthful. So these are the principles of religion. So it doesn't matter what you identify. If you don't practice these four principles of religion, you're practically you're a renegade. No matter what, you're against God. You're against religion. Even if you identify as a Christian or a Hindu or a Mohammedan, if you don't practice these things, you're ultimately kind of a rebel against God. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. Such regulative principles may be different in terms of the time and place concerned. One has to see whether the aims of religion have been achieved. Sticking to the dogmas and formulas without attaining the real principles is not good. A secular state may be impartial to any particular type of faith, but the state cannot be indifferent to the principles of religion as above mentioned. But in the age of Kali, the executive heads of state will be indifferent to such religious principles, and therefore under their patronage, the opponents of religious principles such as greed, falsehood, cheating, and pilfery will naturally follow. And so there'll be no meaning to propaganda crying to stop corruption in the state. We see this oftentimes. People are protesting, to stop the corruption here, there, and the other. But all the executive heads, they're actually irreligious. They don't have these qualities. So it doesn't matter if you remove Donald Trump because he is irreligious and you replace him with Joe Biden, who's maybe more irreligious. Or it doesn't matter if you remove this one, and that one comes. And if they're all irreligious, you're not going to get it. And then all the voters themselves are irreligious. All the voters themselves, they don't have discipline. Used to be, not used to, but the goal of human life is to pursue religion, actually. This is what differentiates the human from the animal. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is the activities of animals. These are the activities of base humans, but the more thoughtful human, the more, you could say, advanced human, evolved human, they'll actually pursue the absolute truth. They'll pursue the greater mysteries of life. They'll try to understand, who am I, why am I here, and what is the purpose? And as they advance, they'll come also to the conclusion that there's an advanced power or intelligence that's governing all things, including them. And they'll act according to the wishes of such a being, and they'll cooperate with all the other living beings through the principles of Dharma, austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. And if everyone does like that, then we can have a good result, but that's not being done, actually. And so the opponents of religious principles, such as greed, look at all the billionaires out there. When is enough enough? when is enough enough? But it's intoxicating. I don't know if you ever came into some money, but if you come into some money, you just naturally want more money and more money and more money, and it's never enough. Falsehood, lying, cheating, setting up arrangements which are not fair and equitable or even kind to the people, and taking advantage for yourself. Our whole business system is employees and employers and everything, and capitalists. Much of it is based on cheating and pilfering, stealing. That's also happening. Will naturally follow if the executive heads will be indifferent to religious principles. They don't care to follow them themselves, and they don't care to, especially if they can't even follow themselves, they definitely won't care to legislate them into being. So then there will be no meaning to propaganda crying to stop corruption in the state. So all of the protests, even sometimes we had a democratic protest now in our town, and it's like the No Kings protest, and they're protesting all of the irreligious things that Donald Trump does. No problem, that's good, But what's the other option? Your irreligious candidate? Because their candidates are also irreligious. I mean, Joe Biden, so much corruption in Ukraine and all kinds of things, and he acts really bizarre and strange with children, on an alarming level. These, Obama, even, he was like the poster boy for, being a, good upstanding citizen, but he's got a lot of dark secrets under the covers as well. I mean, and ultimately, if people don't follow, that's why Prabhupada, when he gave this movement, and he he gave really only 5 requests of people. The 4 requests were to follow the 4 regulative principles, meaning don't fall into irreligion, And then what are they? The 4 regulative principles are to have the regulative principle of austerity is to not be intoxicated with, Prabhupada even said tea. He said, no, get even rid of caffeine, So we're intoxicated. We're jazzing ourselves up with caffeine. Most people are jazzing themselves up with, caffeine just so they can go out and perform some work. But this artificial energy, which actually is it's depleting their energy and making them more and more, their body more and more depleted. We should be disciplined and sober, and we should be able to approach life from a very sober and thoughtful level, and not try to intoxicate ourselves to escape the reality. Like even caffeine is an escape from the actual natural energy levels that your body has and your natural ability to focus on subjects. You should increase that naturally rather than artificially. Caffeine, what does it do? It just takes the reserve energies that your body has, and it puts your body in a fight or flight state, and it forces your body to use its reserve states that it would only use if it was in great danger or great stress. But what's the result? Now everybody's always in stress, and that's why everyone's always stressed out, because they're completely intoxicated with a natural chemical that will evoke, caffeine used to be used by warriors in war and stuff like that. In Peru, the soldiers, they would take the coca plant, and it's also similar to caffeine, and it would now cocaine is made from that, but it'll intoxicate them to handle the great stress of battle. But now people are going to battle every day just to go to work, 2, 3, 4, 5 cups of coffee a day, tea, or this, that, and the other thing. But actually, all this intoxication, including caffeine, but especially alcohol, especially marijuana, especially opiates and so on, it removes any chance of being disciplined. I used to smoke marijuana a lot. And I remember when I was first reading the Bhagavad Gita, I was still smoking marijuana. But as I would smoke the marijuana, I would just I used to like to try to meditate when I would smoke and stuff like that. And so I was like, let me try to read this. But I remember just trying to read one paragraph and I couldn't do it. Like Krishna would not let me read one paragraph before I would lose my train of thought and I'd have to restart over. And like for an hour, I'm reading the same paragraph over and over and over and over again. Why? Because I was sinfully consuming intoxication. So because of my lack of discipline, I couldn't do anything proper. And most of the world is like this. Even work, if you have to use caffeine to go to work, you're not going to actually have a clear mind to do clear, good, useful work for your life. You're just going to be frantically running around in stress, doing anything and everything, but it won't actually give you a clear place to go. That's going to really quench your real satisfaction as a human being or a soul in a human body. So then the next is cleanliness. Cleanliness is ruined by illicit sexual activities. Your cleanliness will be completely ruined. For you guys who are both have girlfriends but not in marriage, this is a very dangerous place for internal cleanliness, actually. It's very dangerous. If you want to actually observe religious cleanliness, the ideal is and maybe it's not socially acceptable right away, but you should strive to get to the platform of marriage. And then even in marriage, there's all kinds of room for irreligious, unclean acts together, where ultimately, if you are attracted to sex life, just have a child. See, look, this is the result of all of these unclean thoughts that might be in the mind, or not even, they don't have to be unclean if you are actually trying to have a child. And actually, naturally, the act of having a child purifies you of so much of this sexual desire. There's not much time after the child comes for sexual desire. Also, the woman is not even able to really get in such a state of consciousness often when the child is needing care and things like this. So anyway, it purifies you and allows you to live a life of cleanliness. But even ultimately, Jesus even taught this, living like a eunuch. But the ultimate cleanliness is externally you're clean, you're bathed, you're always properly situated and externally clean, teeth brushed and so on. But internally you're clean, meaning your dealings are for a wholesome spiritual purpose rather than to enjoy sense gratification, but namely, for sex desire. And many people do many, many things to maintain sex life. They'll do many, many things. They'll work very hard like donkeys all day to, as long as at the end of the day I get a little bit of sex, I'm happy, and they're doing. But this is a very unclean life, an irreligious life. And so ultimately, nothing good can come from such a life, actually. And I know because I lived such a life. I'm trying actively not to live such a life now, but sometimes the old habits and the old tendencies, they're tempting, or even worse, sometimes you actually fall prey to them. And then, not good situations arise from when you don't practice your religion. The result is all kinds of suffering and difficulty that is arranged by God for our irreligious activities. Mercy. You should be merciful to every living entity. Even here, Kali is bowing before, even though he's so not a good character, he's begging for, shelter of Parikshit. And Parikshit is, though he's so unsavory, he's like, okay, we'll not kill you. So, also here, I was sometimes thinking of getting all kinds of rat poison, or we have mouse problems time. But it's better to just try and catch them in these have-a-heart traps and let them out and let them be someone else's problem, or take them in the field and they can tough it on their own. But you have to be merciful. Most people, you guys are not, but eating meat and so many unmerciful habits people have. Look at what's happening in Palestine and Israel. Everyone is actually starting to realize how wrong it is to be so unmerciful to these people who are trying to live. And but maybe some agendas are there, and maybe there are some real terrorist threats who are causing difficulty in the area. Who knows what's what and what's being presented? But still, the main a religious person is merciful unto others, including the animals, but especially women, children, but everyone. Mercy is there. And last is truthfulness. We should be very honest in our dealings. I know in my life that was always very difficult for me. If I was growing up, I learned that if I lied to get the goal that I wanted, then that would, I thought that was a better result. Like let's say, I don't know, there's so many examples where, if this person's coming to me for something, but if I lie to them, I can get a so-called better result, or a more selfish result for myself. Then ultimately, this was something I did when I was a kid. This was something I did even more as an adult too. But this is actually irreligious, and if we do like this and develop habits, like mercy. The main prohibition is the main thing that people can do to be more merciful is stop eating meat. Don't support animal slaughter and violence. Don't literally eat it and consume it, and take the energy exchange of such an activity. And just stopping that, so much mercy you can have just by stopping that. And then for truthfulness, not to get involved in gambling and dishonest means. I actually had a long talk with one of our congregation members yesterday. His name is Kumar, and Kumar, he made a lot of money and also lost a lot of money on the stock market. And so we were having this talk as I was also entertaining some of these things earlier this year. And at the end of the day, we were talking about how in this market, there's so much corruption and there's so much lying, and it facilitates and it builds on your greed, and it knows how to manipulate human greed. And it's very, if you get implicated in these things, you'll be in a lot of trouble. So we have to be engaged in honest dealings. So, here we are, we're trying to honestly, the one honest thing we do definitely have going for us, we have the Airbnb, giving people a place to stay. Our Airbnb is currently shoots so many really nice things to say about what we're doing here. The food even, how good the food is, how good the community is, how nice everybody is, and how accepting and loving. These are the honest things that really should be focused on. Now even Madhav and I were talking about how we can build a little cloud kitchen here, where we can go and distribute food to the local communities, but maybe go to the farmers market and things like that. And this is good. This is what Prabhupada wanted. These are religious means in life. So the Bhagavatam religion urges the following the principles of religion. So we also, we have to be religious in our dealings if we want success. Or what will happen is principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel, and vanity will abound in your life, and then also any other environment where all these things are present. So the recommendation of Prabhupada is to don't get intoxicated, don't become sexually implicated, and if you are having a very strong urge towards sexuality, then get married, have a child, and that will be a very perfect use of, and then raise that child religiously, and then it's perfect actually. Krishna says he is that type of sex, it's not irreligious. And merciful, don't eat meat, don't eat, don't kill other living entities unnecessarily, but the easiest way to participate in that is not eating meat, which is happening on a very wide scale. And lastly, truthfulness. Prabhupada said don't gamble, but there's so many elements of that. It's not just like, all right, I'll avoid casinos. And I learned the hard way earlier this year. There's many things that you can get implicated: cryptocurrencies, stocks, investments, which are like encourage gambling or gambling behavior. Not that these things have to be gambling, but there's so much now on your phone. I keep getting things. There's this website called Kalshi, and they have you bet on anything, and you can get rewarded if you're right on your bet. Whether this show is going to have, I don't know, this person will say this in this show, or whether this sports team does this. But, obviously most devotees don't do these things. And not stupid enough to do these things. But if we don't follow this, then we'll get a bad result in life, and our life will have all kinds of misfortune in it. And but if we do the religious principles that Prabhupada has given, and then there's the negatives. Oh, he just like farted on me. There's the negatives, like don't follow the regular principles, but then there's the positives. Prabhupada says chant 16 rounds, read his books, practice these, bhajana kriyas, or these good spiritual practices like the deity worship and singing songs with the appropriate moods towards the Lord and so on. Playing instruments for the Lord, joining in godly activities, having spiritual discourses, hearing about the pastimes of the Lord, the teachings of the Lord, like Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. These are the good activities. So start to cultivate these, and then your life can be successful. And the personality of Kali will have no place there. Don't expect to be able to have spiritual success. Most people want to have spiritual success, but if they allow irreligion to be very deeply implicated in their life, they won't have spiritual success. So what we have to do is any irreligious place in our life, we have to cleanse that thing so that we can have spiritual success. So I'm seeing personally in my life, Krishna is testing me, especially in regards to money, and to trust, to just don't try to have some get-rich-quick scheme or something like this, but to actually investing is not a crime. You can invest, no problem. You can, invest in gold and silver, in land, in livestock, in business, but don't try to just get rich quick, or think ends justify the means. The real aspect of money is actually, are you providing a service? Actually, that's how money should be attained, when you provide a service. So whether that service is banking, or whether that service is computer engineering, or whatnot. So Krishna's calling us as professional people to, that's why I think it's a good idea, we, as an ashram, and maybe Madhav will be the chief in this department, but where we start like a business where we provide a service of offering people good, healthy, clean, delicious food, and then, honestly make our money this way, because money has to be there. You have to pay the bills, and a quick get-rich-quick scheme isn't the way. And oftentimes entails gambling. And then if you do fall into these things, then you have to suffer misfortune. And trust me, I know, because it's happened to me a couple times now this year. So, but anyhow, thank you guys. Hare Krishna. And we need to be dharmic. And then we have to also engage in activities to please Krishna. And if we're dharmic, then we can actually make advancement on that path. And if we act adharmically, then we can't expect Krishna to reciprocate. Even if we want to, all right, well, I'll sin, and then I'll go and chant a bunch of rounds. Or I'll sin, and then I'll go and read, and then all these things. You can't expect success in this way. Better you follow the religious principles, and then you start to make some advancement. You agree? Yeah. Yes. So you came at the end, but I think we're finished for today. You guys have breakfast ready? Yes. So Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam.